So for today's video, I want to dive into three very interesting topics regarding the PlayStation 5 Pro and the possibility of it ever coming, Microsoft boss Phil Spencer yet again taking another shot at Sony, and Spider-Man 2 possibly bringing a big Avenger. First, let me know if you had the option and the PlayStation 5 Pro was $599 but was much stronger than the current PlayStation 5. Would you get it over the possibly $499 PlayStation 5 or possibly the $399 digital PlayStation 5? I'm curious if people feel it's worth it to get a much stronger PlayStation 5 for $600. So comment below if you had the option, would you get a PS5 Pro at $600? Let me know down in the comments below. Now, diving into the first of three stories in the video, Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 5. I feel like some people think I am talking about Miles Morales when I talk about Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 5, but no, this is Spider-Man 2 with Peter Parker, the full sequel to 2018's Spider-Man PS4, and I guess Miles Morales, since I would assume it takes place after the winter events of Miles' game. But in regards to Peter's sequel, a big Avenger is possibly going to be introduced into the series. The Sorcerer Supreme himself, Doctor Strange, could be joining Peter in the next game. Reading from website We Got This Covered, according to sources close to WGTC, the same ones who told us that Ahsoka Tano will make her live-action debut in The Mandalorian, and a She-Hulk show is coming to Disney+, both of which were correct. Doctor Strange will be showing up at some point in Insomniac's unannounced sequel, though in what capacity remains unknown. In terms of what Doctor Strange will do in the game, I don't think we'll get to play as him, but considering the villains we've heard to be in the second game, Peter, Doctor Strange, and Miles Morales could take them on, or it could be Doctor Strange trying to recruit Spider to the Avengers initiative. I've heard that there's been things in Spider-Man PS4 that hinted that the game is connected to Crystal Dynamics' Avenger game, so the sequel could finally make that official, but I guess we'll see in time. You guys let me know if you want a Marvel gameverse with multiple Marvel games being connected to one another, maybe with team-up games in the future. Let me know down in the comments below. Now, diving into the second story of the video, Xbox boss Phil Spencer once again talking about Sony. Whether people want to admit it or not, Phil Spencer has been passively speaking about Sony's strategy towards next gen, and pretty much the conversation has been what they're doing isn't the right way to go, but what we're doing is the right way to go, which I guess is all a part of the competition. But Sony literally seems to be focused on their own announcements, reveals, and lets their games do the talking. Before going further, let's just read what he had to say and then discuss. He was asked about their cross-generational approach to next gen, and he said the following. As a player, you are the center of our strategy. Our device is not the center of our strategy. Our game is not the center of our strategy. We want to enable you to play the games you want to play with the friends you want to play with on any device. On TV, the Xbox console is going to be the best way to play console games. Xbox Series X is the most powerful console out there, and it will have absolutely the best versions of our console games. But that's not to exclude other people from being able to play. Sorry, I'm a bit soapboxy with this one. Gaming is about entertainment and community and diversion and learning new stories and new perspectives, and I find it completely counter to what gaming is about to say that part of that is to lock people away from being able to experience those games, or to force someone to buy my specific device on the day that I want them to go buy it in order to partake in what gaming is about. Gaming is bigger than any one device, and that is something as an industry that we've embraced all up as we bring more and more players in. I think it's vital to the role that gaming can play on the planet. So, Phil Spencer is clearly shooting for the moral approach here with this statement, but Phil, let's just be honest here. This is all about subscriptions, not about this moral high ground you're seemingly pulling here. Microsoft's business approach has been subscriptions for some time now. Why would they take the risk of losing many subscribers on an already existing user base that they have? A lot of people get services like Game Pass because of the day one games and how cheap the service is. Many people loaded up on the $1 offering for the service through Microsoft's multiple deals, including Game Pass subscriptions and things like Rice Krispies. PCs. Microsoft was clearly trying to take any avenue to boost those numbers. Their big approach is Game Pass and to keep you locked in. So yes, the machine isn't their focus, subscriptions are, but to state things like it's counter to what gaming is and how they wouldn't want to force someone to buy a new device to play the new games is a ridiculous statement to make and clearly directed at Sony's strategy of generations. Sony is pushing the envelope with their games and really the industry forward in game design. Also, this isn't a surprise. The current generation of consoles have existed for 7 years and no one is forced into anything. The current generation of consoles, especially the PlayStation 4, will be supported for years to come. Sony has always taken care of their past console generations, and in this situation, Microsoft has really been the platform to discontinue their old consoles and move complete support to their new console in the past. And I'm really curious what Phil will say in 2 years' time when they start fully developing games made for the Series X. Are you not forcing people to jump then? I'm really curious to see what he'll say in 2 years' time. So Phil, if you end up watching this, not sure if I'm big enough to really reach someone like you, but if it does reach you, please focus on delivering amazing games and stop overhyping events and not delivering every year, and stop these interviews where you make statements clearly trying to convince people over and over again that your strategy is the way to go. If it is, deliver. That's all that matters. July 23rd, I hope you really bring it home because I'll be getting the Series X as well, like I got the Xbox One, like I got the 360, like I got the original Xbox, and I personally do not want to be disappointed regardless of anyone else's thoughts here. But you guys let me know your thoughts on what Phil said. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know down in the comments below. And now diving into the final story of this video, the PlayStation 5 Pro. The PS5 Pro has been in a lot of people's minds, and if it was offered day one, many hardcore gamers would choose it over the existing PlayStation 5, including myself. I personally believe there is a Pro console in the horizon considering how Sony has already talked about the PlayStation 4 Pro. So the story goes, former Xbox marketing executive Albert Penello recently spoke on Reset Era and stated the following in regards to mid-generation upgrades regarding the next generation of consoles. 4K was becoming a mainstream resolution for PCs and TVs, and the base consoles were designed around 1080p or less output. When you have a set that requires 4 times the performance just to drive 4 times the pixels, then you eat up all the performance just driving resolution. I think it's unlikely we'll see 8K TVs go mainstream in the same way we saw 4K go mainstream. We're more likely to see improvements in nits to drive better HDR or better frame rates to support greater than 60 frames per second on TVs. CPUs and GPUs in the next generation should easily support higher frame rates and wider colors, so the mid-generation upgrades are not only less financially and technically viable, but also likely less necessary to keep up with display technologies. So the basic gist is Sony and Microsoft created the upgraded consoles to support 4K TVs, which is the case from my understanding, and I understand his reasoning for the Pro not to exist in regards to 8K TVs. I personally believe there will still be a Pro console, and if you look at the Xbox naming scheme, Series X and possibly Series S, it sounds like Microsoft intends to have future consoles as well. And if that is the case, I don't think Sony would just sit by and not bring future upgrades of their own. And as I mentioned earlier, how Sony talked about the PS4 Pro and the test run there, it definitely sounded like they plan on continuing these mid-generation upgrades and maybe even further. I want to read a quote from Masayasu Ito, Executive Vice President of Hardware Engineering and Operation at Sony Interactive Entertainment, in regards to the PlayStation 4 Pro. Here's the statement. Indeed, in the past, the cycle for a new platform was 7 to 10 years, but in view of the very rapid development and evolution of technology, it's really a 6 to 7 year platform cycle. Then we cannot fully catch up with the rapid development of the technology. Therefore, our thinking is that as far as a platform is concerned for the PlayStation 5, it's a cycle of maybe 6 to 7 years. But doing that, a platform life cycle, we should be able to change the hardware itself and try to incorporate advancements in technology. That was the thinking behind it, and the test case was that thinking was the PlayStation 4 Pro that launched in the midway of the PS4 launch cycle. So the statement in itself already provides us with a hint that Sony intends to have something like a Pro console for the upcoming generation. And there are things outside of just TVs to warrant an upgrade. Virtual reality has started to heat up since 2019, and that market is going to grow. There could be advancements there that Sony wants to bring to the next model of the PlayStation 5. Mobile. While people put down the mobile market, you can't deny how fast their graphics and capability to produce console-like experiences has come, and it's only going to keep going. And remember, they really started in 2007 as opposed to how long the console industry has been around, sometime in the 80s, I believe. And what about ray tracing, frame rates, etc.? Ray tracing is still new tech, and until we see games with full ray tracing on a graphically intensive game running at 120 frames per second at 4K, there is still room to develop the tech. And of course, there's also the PC market. Sony and Microsoft have been afraid to lose players to the PC market in the past, but now you see their games on the platform. But isn't it interesting how hard Sony and Microsoft went this upcoming generation with the tech inside? SSDs at the highest level, for Sony even higher, latest architectures, not yet on market CPUs and GPUs. They clearly seem to want to keep pace, and the PC arena develops fast, as we know. So there are multiple reasons outside of just TVs, but that's just my personal take. You guys let me know if you think there's a point to a PS5 Pro existing or not. Let me know down in the comments below. And if you guys did enjoy this video, please hit that like button as it always helps, and subscribe if you're new. I got new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And now I'll check you guys out on the next one. And welcome back to the after show. This is the part of the video where we have a little fun down in the comments below. If you're old, welcome back. If you're new, welcome. For today's thing, what I want you guys to do is to body, obliterate, destroy, and overall harass the comment section with "Give me the power of Pro." Because if you're like me, I want that mid-generation upgrade. I want that beasted up console, and I'll pay for it. If you're on the same boat, destroy the comment section with "Give me the power of Pro," and I'll definitely heart those comments like I always do, because I appreciate everybody who stays to the end of my videos. And now I'll check you guys out on the next one.